Does anyone in the room like to be in control? Is anybody a control, I hate to say it, a control freak? Would anybody just say, hey, I'm a control freak? Yeah, some of you, okay, some of you are honest. Some of you are like, yes, I'm a control freak, okay? You're in control of the situation right now. There's moments in our life where we have these big control moments, all right? Think about this. When you were 13, 14, 15 years old, some of you are in the room are that age now, what is it that you can't wait to do? You can't wait to drive, right? You can't wait that first time you get in the car, no mom, no dad, just your friends. You get to control the radio, you get to control the AC, and you get to go where you want. That's a big moment for us, right? Control. Fast forward a few years, you turn 18, you move out on your own, and you are in control. You got your own place. You get to say when you go to bed. You get to say when you get up. You can eat candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can do whatever you want. You're in control. And then later in life, maybe you work for somebody and finally you become the boss. Oh, I'm now in charge. I'm in control. I get to finally tell people how to do their job. I finally get to set my own hours, or you become your own boss. I get to take vacation when I want. You're in control. There's these big moments in life where we have control, and we love control. There's something in us that tells us that we should be in control. There's something in us that says if we could just call the shots, everything would be better. You remember when you were about to turn 18, you probably made those threats to your parents. When I'm 18, I'm an adult. I can do what I want. When I'm 18, you tell your friends, when I'm 18, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of this town. I'm going to make my own calls. If my parents could just see the way I see things, if my parents could just do things the right way, if my boss could just let me run things, right? We all have these moments where we want to be in control. And think of the people that control your life right now. Your boss, your parents, your spouse, your mentor, the IRS, God, all these different people telling you when to go, where to go, how to go. It kind of feels like some days everyone's in control but you. Most of us believe that if we could control everything, we would be way better off. In fact, we have these moments where we feel like if I could just be in the driver's seat, like if I could just sit in the chair, things would be better. Oh man, these chairs aren't as comfortable as those other ones. Sorry, people in the folding chairs. Come to the 8:30. If we could just be in control. And so I remember the first time I drove by myself. Like my mom, you turn 15 or 16, you have to drive with your parents, and you think you kind of think you're cool because you drive to school, but your mom's in the passenger seat, and like you get out and she walks around and gets in the driver's seat and she drives off and she blows you a kiss and you're like, okay, I'm not very cool. But I remember the first time I actually drove by myself. I called my friend and we were heading to town, y'all. And I'm driving, and I'm at 10 and 2, and I'm in control. I feel like I'm the coolest person in the world. I'm probably rocking some Will Smith, getting jiggy with it, and I'm going along, and I'm feeling good, and I'm making sure I'm watching the speed limit. I'm watching the other cars, and as much as I felt in control, my dad had reminded me how little control I had, because he let me know if I ever have an accident, or if it's my fault, or if I get a speeding ticket, it's all gone. I won't be in control for a while. The car's gone, the keys are his. So I'm driving along, I'm feeling good, and wouldn't you know it, I look in the rearview mirror, and there's a policeman behind me. His lights are on, and I begin to sweat like crazy. I pull over. I thought I was in control, but this police officer just reminded me how little control I had. I assumed I'm going to jail. I'm probably going to prison for life. It's all over. I pull over. I'm sitting there 10 and 2. I'm looking straight ahead. I'm nervous. I've turned down the music. He comes. He taps on the window. I try to open the door. He's like, no, just roll your window down. Oh, yeah, that's right. So I close the door, roll the window down. He's like, can I see your license, son? I'm like, sure. I hand him my whole wallet, and he proceeds to let me know that he's not robbing me. Son, I'm not robbing you. I just need your license. He kind of laughs, and I let him know this is my first time to ever drive by myself. And he's like, I can tell. And he finally lets me know why he pulled me over. I was doing 30 in a 60. And You talk about a cool guy. I felt so cool. I remember telling my friend, don't you ever tell a word of this or they'll never find your body. I don't know, something like that. And there were so many moments where I thought I had so much control, but everyone around me was reminding me how little control I had. Or how about this? You finally become an adult and you move out on your own. You guys remember the first time you had roommates and it's like, I'm in control, and then the bills start coming in. And then I'm in control, but then your roommates are messy and they don't pay the bills on time, and you think you're in control, but you can't control them, and they're leaving stuff everywhere, and your house stinks, and you're just barely making ends meet, and you're living off Dr. Thunder and ramen noodles, and true story for me. And you realize, as much as you thought it would be so great to be in this seat, once you got there, you found out, I don't have as much control as I thought. I want to be my own boss. You finally get that. You sit in the seat, I'm my own boss. And then you realize, wow, back when it didn't matter what happened, I got a paycheck. But now, if we don't do well, I don't get paid anymore. Now there's so much expectation on me. Before there wasn't. It was just show up and do my job. So I thought I was in control, but maybe I'm not in control. So we have all these moments where we think that we're in control and we want to be in control. I remember when I moved back home. Have you ever moved away to college and then you had to go back home for the summer? I mean, I had been living the life in this seat, y'all. I was staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning, hanging out with friends, doing everything but probably what I should have been doing. And I got to move back home for the summer. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah. I mean, I'm like 20 now. So I'm definitely, even though I'm at home, I'm sitting in this chair. I'm in control. And my dad, I'll never forget, it's like midnight. I'm on the phone with my friends talking about the good old days, which were yesterday because I just moved back home. And we're talking about what we're going to do next semester. And my dad comes up. He doesn't even knock. He just kind of busts in the door. His eyes are squinty. You could tell he'd been asleep. And my dad gave me that saying that we all hate to hear. What time is it? I don't know. It's about midnight. Don't you know nothing good happens after midnight? And then my dad really reminds me how little control I have. And he tells me, I want you to get these lights off and get to bed. And by the way, I want this room cleaned up before I come up here tomorrow. I'm 20. Dad, I am 20. I'm sitting in this chair. This isn't your chair anymore. And in that moment, once again, I wanted control so bad. And I thought I was in control, but someone else reminded me how little control I really had. And what I've learned is you can always be in charge of one thing, your actions, but you can never be in charge of your outcomes. You can never, ever be in charge of the things or in control that you want, but you can always be in charge of how you behave and your actions and how you handle things. Have you ever had an incident with someone? I'm a pastor, so I never do this, but you guys probably do. You're driving and someone cuts you off, someone upsets you, someone whatever, they just frustrate you. They're driving too slow or they're driving too fast, and you do something. Maybe it's not anything with your hand or fingers to let them know how you feel, but maybe it's a little brake tap to let the person behind you know, hey, get off my tail. Or it's a little cruise by them and kind of swerve over to let them know they're driving slow. I don't know what you do, but you do things because people do it to me all the time. And you're having that moment of letting them know what's up, like, hey, I'm the boss, I'm in control. And you think you're in control of the outcome because, hey, I'll never see them again. And, oh, crud, I have a SOCO sticker. But beside that, you look up after you made your big moment and there's a red light. I'm about to have to stop at the red light and they're going to pull up beside me, and then you just keep your head straight ahead because you don't want to look. You had that moment before? I actually had that moment yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to really show them, like, oh my goodness, there's a red light. What if they go to our church? I don't know. They don't anymore. I have a 3-year-old. You would think you could control at least your kids, right? Well, that was naive. I'm somewhat a new parent. A 3-year-old trying to control them. My poor wife, she took my son Slade to Target a few weeks ago, and we don't even know where he got this, but she was trying to chase him down, and he was running from her, and you know, it's those moments where you just want to get to the register and check out and get out of there, like get your kid out of there. And she's trying to get him, she gets a hold of him, he's screaming, everyone's looking, she gets him in the cart, and he starts yelling, "Get away from me, you big tin can," screaming it. at my wife. Don't touch me, you big tin can. And some people are laughing. Some people are on their phone calling the police. Everyone is judging, right? But we have no control even over my son. And sometimes you can do your best to control a situation, and it still turns out differently. Like, I wanted to plan the outcome. I wanted to sit here and be in charge. And when I'm in charge, that means I get to predict the outcome. And here is what happens. We try to control the marriage. And sometimes it doesn't end up the way we hope. So we try to control our job situation, our finances, our joy, all these different things. We want to sit in the seat. We want to be the driver. And we want to be the ones to control where we go and what the outcome is. And when it doesn't turn out the way we hope, I want to control the way God sees me. I want to control the way that my prayers either come to fruition or not. I want to be the one that says, yes, God, you answer these prayers. And sometimes it doesn't turn out that way. Sometimes we don't like the way we look in the mirror, so we try to change the way others see us. We want to control what you think of us and what you think of me and how you see me. And it happens in every one of our lives. And when we have these moments where we finally realize we are no longer in control of the situation, we do one of two things. Number one, we take charge completely. Like, I was already in the seat, but now if there's anybody else in the seat, I've kicked them to the side. I am the only one in the seat. And it's kind of like this. It's saying, God, if you're not going to do it the way I want it, if you're not going to do it when I want it, then I'm going to just take over driving all the way. I'm going to sit here. You don't need to sit here. I got this. And the harder you push, the more obsessive it becomes. The more determined you are to create the outcome that you want. You take 100 pics before you post it on social media because you want to be in control of how people see you. You push everything else aside. You become very religious and hoping that you can control how God sees you and how God loves you. And you become the one in control. Or even worse, come up here, Dupree. Maybe you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to justify things, and God, you can have the seat. It's yours. And let me ask you this. How many of you ever use Google Maps or Siri to tell you how to get somewhere? Come on, raise your hand. Let me just see so I know. Yeah. Would it be weird if you got in the car with me, and I'm like, hey, we're going to go to this one place, and I get my phone out, and I start telling Siri how to get there? Okay, Siri, you're going to want to go about 3 miles and take a left. Okay, Google Maps, take a left up here, then take a right, go 2 miles. Wouldn't that be weird? You'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you telling the thing that's telling you how to get somewhere, how to get there? And in John 14:6, it says that he is the way, he is the truth, he is the life, and the only way to get to the Father is through him. And Jesus didn't say it like this, hey, the only way you get to God's through me first. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, I've got really good news for you. You now have access to God. And it's through me. It was good news. And so sometimes we give control over something to God and we justify it by moving to the worst possible seat. The back seat driver's seat. How many of you cannot stand a backseat driver? You don't want to raise your hand because your wife's sitting beside you. I understand. So it's kind of like we're telling Google how to get there. Google Maps. Okay, God, you're in control, man. You got this. Here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to go straight, and then I know you kind of want to go this way, but let's make sure we get there the way I want to get there. And we're trying to tell the way to the way. How weird is that? Yeah, look at me, everyone. God's in control. He's sitting in the seat. God, once again, where are you going? What do you think you're doing? No, turn around. No, we don't want to go this way. We don't want to do it this way. This is not the right way to go. And we spend our life thinking we've given God control and we feel so good about ourselves, yet we're still telling the directions and telling how to get there and telling the outcome and telling God, the creator of the universe, how he should do things. The same way we are with our parents when we're a kid and with our boss now and with our spouses. If they could just see things the way I see them, if they could just do things the way I would do it, everything would be so much better. So we become that backseat driver. And number two, if we don't do that, we do something else. Instead of taking charge completely, we give up completely. Okay, God, I'm just going to pack up my things. I prayed and you never answered my prayer. I've waited like literally hours. Okay, I've been praying for hours and this didn't happen. When I say praying hours, I mean I prayed on the way to work and then I worked all day, but that's hours. I fasted from breakfast to lunch and you haven't done what I wanted you to do. So if you're not going to do it, then I'm done. I just quit. This is how my life is. This is how I'm always going to be. I'm going to be a victim. My parents were this way. I'm going to be this way. It's just never going to happen. Everyone else is going to be happy and I'm going to be sad. Everyone else is going to have joy and I'm just going to always be depressed. I tried. Have you prayed? Yeah, I tried praying. I went to church. Nobody cares though. So I'm done. I just give up. And so we quit. Because you can't control it. You just give up completely. You quit on a job, you quit on a relationship, you quit on a prayer, you quit on a miracle, you quit on the healing you need, you quit. You blame God or you blame others and you have that mindset of I just can't change anything. I wonder how many people miss out on a miracle or a blessing because they're impatient, insecure, or they're not in control. I wonder how many people, they just didn't give it enough time. They just gave up right before God had something amazing for them. The thing that you've prayed for and believed for maybe a lot of years, the thing you had hoped for, the thing you had dreamed for. I wonder how many people miss out on it because they're impatient, they're insecure, or because they want to be in control. The problem with this is whether we try to take over completely or we give up completely, neither of these give us the outcome we really want. So if these don't work, what should we do? You know, some of my worst moments in life are when I realize I can't. Like I've tried really hard and I finally came to this conclusion that I can't. I can't do it. That's a hard thing. Come on, men in the room, that's really hard for us to say. We can't. I can't do it. Can't do it. Maybe I can't do it anymore. I used to do it, I can't do it now. When our ability and control runs out, what do? My wife and I, we are trying to sell our house right now. And have you ever had those moments where you try to sell your house and you're like, oh, it's going to sell quick, and weeks go by and it still hasn't sold? And even worse for us, my wife found this home she loves. And we found it when it was maybe a quarter of the way built, so she got to pick everything out. She bought all of the light fixtures. She picked the countertops. And you know, if you're having a house built, you have to go look at it every single day, sometimes twice a day. You know, nothing's changed really, but you convince yourself. I think they painted that wall. No, it was yesterday. It was already painted. No, you know what? Maybe you're right. Yeah, they did paint that wall. It's whiter today. Yesterday it was kind of white. Today it's very white. You just find things. And so I watched my wife, I'm going to pick on her a little bit. Last night she created like a Photoshop thing with all her cabinets, and she was planning out where everything was going to go in the cabinets. Like my wife's very detailed and creative. And we had this moment this week because our new house is contingent upon us selling our house. And we had this moment, and I told her this week, I said, how are you going to feel if we can't sell our house and you have to watch someone else move into the house you have designed and that you have dreamed of? That's a moment where we have no control. Like I can't sit in the seat because if I try to sit in the seat, I might do something stupid financially. I might get us in a bind. I might hurt our family. I might hurt our future. So in that moment, I can't, but he can. And he knows what's going on. Like I have to convince myself. Have you ever had those days where you have to tell yourself every day, God's in control, God's in control, God's in control. Some days we need that. Other days you say it once and you're good to go. Some days you have to tell yourself over and over. Jess and I, we're having to remind each other every day, hey, God's in control. It's okay. God's in control. God's in control. There's a centurion in the book of Matthew. He ran into Jesus. Now, he was an officer. He had a lot of authority. And his servant is sick. And we pick up the story in verse 5 of chapter 8. It says, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. So he's a high-ranking officer. He probably oversees 60, 80, 100 men. He's got a lot of power, a lot of discipline, a lot of authority. He constantly is giving orders, and people just say yes to him. He's an I can kind of guy. He is a power kind of guy. He is a sitting in the seat kind of guy. In Matthew chapter 8, verse 6, it says, Lord, my servant lies at home paralyzed. He's suffering terribly. Jesus said to him, shall I come and heal him? Now, his servant was not just someone mowing the grass. His servant was more of an estate keeper. His servant would have been close. His servant would have been someone that's caring for the family in the home while he's off at war or doing his job. So it's a big deal. And it says in verse 8, the centurion replied, Lord, I don't even deserve to have you come under my roof. If you could just say the word, my servant can be healed, for I myself am a man under authority. With soldiers under me, I tell them, go, and they go, come here, and they come. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. He says a certain thing in there. He says, you could just say the word. Just say the word. And I love what it says in verse 10. It says, when Jesus heard this, he was amazed, and he said to those following him, truly I tell you, I haven't found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I can imagine the rabbis and the teachers and the philosophers and all these people with great degrees and seminaries and whatever maybe else that came around Jesus. And yet Jesus says, of all the people I encountered, a Roman soldier had the greatest faith. And here's why. This soldier made it very evident, God, I don't want to be in control. You're in control. In fact, God, I have control because I tell people what to do and they do it. But God, I want to let you know you have complete control. My authority is pretty minor, but your authority is all authority. And he doesn't try to sit in the back seat. In fact, his actual posture was to simply surrender. And I know everybody in here has something that you're trying to control. Something you want to predict, and you want to be in control of the outcome. And just like this centurion, he surrenders when his ability ran out. He couldn't control his life anymore. And he came to that I can't place. And he just surrendered. You see, we all have goals in our life. Come on, everyone has a goal. Everyone has things that we dream of, and we set goals. You know what goals we normally set? The ones we ourselves can achieve. I'm going to set a goal, and I'm going to think through, how can I get there? Okay, I can do this and this. I can do it. And so we think about goals in a way that we can achieve them. And here's what I've learned. People who demand control dream small. When you demand control, you're not dreaming near as big as the dreams that God wants to put in your heart and in your life. And in fact, you a lot of times allow the desire to be in this seat to completely cloud your vision of the thing that God wants to do in your life that's so much bigger than just being in control. So we have to learn to surrender. There's things that are going to get in your life that come into your life that get into the way of the outcome. And instead of trying harder, instead of giving up, get to the place where we can acknowledge that Jesus has authority in everything. So I want to close with 3 quick things that I would encourage you and I want to help you with today. Number 1, instead of giving up, instead of trying to take more control, number 1 is this: realize that you are not in control. You are not in control. You can't control circumstances, but you can control the behavior in those circumstances. Things may be difficult, but I need you to know, I need you to relax. I need someone to hear this. Not everything depends on you. Some control freaks in here need to hear that. Not everything depends on you. God's got it. God's in control. He didn't take a vacation. He didn't abandon you. He's not oblivious to it. It doesn't always depend on you. I know you're amazing. I know you're great, but not everything depends on you. The only thing that depends on you is if you'll depend on Him. That's it. Will I depend on Him? Will I put my faith in Him? Will I get out of the way and let Him be in the driver's seat? Number two, after we realize we're not in control, we need to embrace that because it's a good thing. Our ability, our judgment, our opinion, it doesn't always get us where we want to go anyway. We're limited, but we serve a God that's without limits. Thankful for that. Sometimes it takes you the opposite direction. We sometimes get in the seat and we think we've got control, and we look back and we realize, oh my goodness, I've been going the wrong way the whole time. That's all it got me. All it got me is putting my marriage in a more difficult situation. My friendships in a more difficult situation. My finances are worse off now. My dreams are further away now because I was trying to control it the whole way. And number three, we have to learn to submit. We just talked about it, surrendering. Surrender to God's control. Surrender to God's authority. Because God is trying to push you forward. Do you know that? God is trying to push you forward. He is not against you. He's for you. He wants good things for you. He doesn't want you to live life the way that you maybe have. He's just waiting for you to get up and get out of the seat. Thank you. He's waiting for that. Will you turn it over to Him today? Who's going to be in charge of our hearts? Let me be transparent as I close here today. There's a few things in my life that I really, really struggle to get out of the seat. One is pastoring. I want to be in control of the church. I want to be in control of the growth. I want to be in control of how well we're doing and how fast we're growing. And I have had some moments where I've made decisions because I was sitting in the chair. I was in the driver's seat. And it's really amazing. I know God loves me, but He's also a father, and He likes to remind me sometimes who's really in control. And then there's some things in my life where I've come to that moment where I've discovered that I can't. A few years ago, I got diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. If you don't know much about diabetes, type 1, you could be the healthiest person in the room, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's an autoimmune disease, and I got diagnosed with it, and I honestly really, really am getting to the point where I don't like it. And every day of my life, I pray, God, I would love for you to heal me. Every day. I'm not telling you to make you feel sorry for me in any way, because we all got stuff. I'm just trying to relate to you. Last night, I've got this insulin pump, and it was going off, of course, on a Saturday night. I need sleep for today. It's going off all night long. It's telling me I'm high, then it's telling me I'm low. It's just driving me nuts. Even today, I was low. I'm never low on a Sunday morning, but for the first time in probably 6 months, I got to eat 2 chocolate donuts, so that's what's up. And it drives me nuts. But do you know, it doesn't matter how long I sit in this chair, I'm never going to be able to control healing. I'm never going to be able to make the decision on the outcome. So why in the world would I not just get out of the seat? Because some of you are sitting in the seat of impossibility. You are still sitting in a seat trying to get somewhere that is impossible to arrive at. You've been driving for years trying to get to a place that your car will never get you to. And I had to come to the conclusion that, God, I've been trying to figure this out and fix it, and I've been trying to be religious enough, and I've been trying to think, well, God, if I can make you love me enough, then maybe you'll heal my body and I won't have to deal with this because it's irritating. The side effects drive me nuts. But I have learned I have limits, but God, you don't. And so I'm going to do the possible and know that you can meet me with the impossible. And if it's your will, have it, because you determine the outcome. So church, today, what is it you're facing that you're not willing to just turn it over to God and say you're in control of the outcome? My wife and I, for the last year, we've been trying to get pregnant. And you talk about something that just drives me nuts because I want that for her. I want that for us. I have this picture in my head. Come on, we want the outcome of the beautiful little girl. We've already got a name. We've already got the plan. We're going to have the perfect model family. It's going to be amazing. God, this is how you need to do it. So I've had times where I got out of the seat and said, God, it's yours. But then I sit back here and told God how to do it and when to do it. Okay, God, things are good now. The church is doing well. It's not a stressful time. Now it'd be fine. Now it's good. Go ahead, God. Go ahead and make that happen now. So some of you have said, okay, I got out of the seat, but you're sitting in the back seat still telling God how to do things. And he is just waiting for you to surrender. And this isn't the right seat for you to be in. And back here is not the right seat for you to be in. Let me tell you the place that we all need to be seated. The right seat for every one of us is sitting at the feet of Jesus. The right place is right where the disciples would sit. They would sit before Jesus. They would get down and they would sit at his feet and they would listen and they would learn and they would trust and they would obey and they would hear what he asked them to do. And he would hear what he wanted to do in their life. And yeah, they weren't perfect. And yeah, they made mistakes. And yeah, they didn't always interpret it right. But they weren't trying to sit in this seat. They continued to just give their lives to him and say, whatever you have, whatever you want the outcome to be, we're going to follow you. I'm going to follow you. So I pray some of you would learn to get to the feet of Jesus and stop driving in circles trying to make the outcome that you want when God has it. God's got it. Let me pray for you. In fact, I want to pray for you in a little bit different way today. The last service was just really special, and the Holy Spirit came in and did that supernatural thing that I can't do, and I believe he wants to do it in this room for somebody right now. So with every eye open and every head up, I want to ask first, how many of you in the room would say that there's something in your life that you identify with that you need to get out of the seat and you need to get to the feet of Jesus? Come on, raise your hand. I want everybody to look around. Look at that. Amazing. Thank you for your honesty. Now here's what I want you to do. We talked about surrender. That's one of the reasons we raise our hands when we worship. We're surrendering. We're singing these words and we're surrendering. So I'm going to ask you in the room right now to just lift your hands like this, right where you're seated, as surrender. And then we're going to pray together. And we're going to believe for God to do something unbelievably supernatural right here in the next couple of minutes. Because we always say God can do more in a moment than we can do in a lifetime. So let's let him do that. Will you let him in? Will you let him have control right now? Come on, would you pray with me as we surrender?